Hello, my name is Brittany Harper, and today I'll be sharing my 2026-2027 professional learning plan for 4th District Elementary School. As I prepare for my first year as principal, I wanted to create a professional learning plan that's intentional, collaborative, and grounded in continuous improvement. So throughout this presentation, I'll share 3 key areas of improvement that I've identified through school data, explain how the Learning Forward standards and the Learning by Doing framework have shaped my thinking, and walk you through a year-long professional learning plan that's designed to strengthen instruction and improve outcomes for all students. Before diving into the plan, I wanted to provide a quick roadmap of today's presentation. I'll begin by expanding on the 3 areas of improvement that I've identified through school data and conversations with district leaders, as I have not previously been at the school. We'll then discuss how each component of my plan ties into the Learning Forward standards and the Learning by Doing framework. From there, I'll walk you through the professional learning calendar for the year, and you'll see how each month builds on the previous month, and that the professional learning experiences are not in isolation, that it's a cycle that we continue to work throughout the year. And then finally, we'll see the action steps that are going to put all of this into play. The first area of improvement focuses on strengthening PLCs through data-driven decision-making. Looking at the school's CCRPI content mastery scores over the last 3 years, student achievement has fluctuated across ELA, math, and science. But rather than looking at these scores as numbers, I see them as an opportunity to strengthen how teachers collaboratively analyze student learning. This connects directly to the Learning by Doing continuum of turning data into information. The purpose isn't to collect more data, it's to use the data we already have to make better instructional decisions that improve student outcomes. When I examined this area more closely, I found that while teachers regularly collect assessment data, there isn't yet a consistent process in place that allows teachers to collaboratively analyze data and respond instructionally. I would describe the school's current stage as initiating. My goal is to help move us beyond simply reporting student performance and instead create PLCs where teachers are able to analyze trends together, identify misconceptions, monitor growth over time, and just collaboratively work together to improve outcomes. So to support this work, teachers are going to participate in weekly PLC data meetings with instructional coaches, and we'll also do structured data digs after the common formative assessments. This aligns closely with the Learning Forward standards listed below. The second area of improvement centers on curriculum alignment. Unlike other elementary schools in the district, 4th District currently does not have a common district-adopted math curriculum. While teachers will follow the same pacing guides and common assessments as other schools, we will need to collaboratively identify high-quality instructional resources that support those standards. Rather than seeing this as a challenge, I see it as an opportunity to build teacher expertise and ownership through collaboration. At this point, I would describe the school's current stage as pre-initiating because teachers have standards and pacing guides, but they don't yet have a collaborative process for developing shared instructional resources. My goal is for PLC teams to work together each week to unpack the standards, develop common unit guides, and identify exemplar lessons while creating quick checks that monitor student understanding before the common formative assessments given by the district. This work is grounded in several Learning Forward standards, including curriculum, assessment and instruction, professional expertise, learning designs, and resources. Ultimately, I want every teacher to feel confident that students are receiving rigorous standards-based instruction, regardless of the classroom that they're in. The third area of improvement focuses on building a collaborative culture. 4th District is a relatively small school with only 1 or 2 teachers at many grade levels. Historically, that has limited opportunities for meaningful collaboration. As I developed next year's master schedule, one of my priorities was intentionally grouping grade levels to create protected PLC time for teachers. This schedule isn't simply about logistics, it's about creating opportunities for teachers to learn from one another, solve problems together, and develop collective responsibility for student success. Although collaborative teams and dedicated PLC time are now built into the schedule, I know that meaningful collaboration doesn't happen automatically. Teachers also need shared expectations, norms, and structures that help conversations stay focused on improving student learning. During pre-planning, we'll establish team norms, assign PLC roles, and introduce collaborative protocols that guide our work throughout the year. I'll also provide ongoing coaching and regular opportunities for reflection so teams continue growing together. My hope is to create high-performing PLCs where collaboration becomes part of our culture rather than simply another meeting on our calendar. Before walking through the professional learning calendar, I'd like to highlight the framework that guided this entire plan. Rather than treating the Learning Forward standards as separate initiatives, I intentionally embedded all 11 standards throughout the school year. Each monthly professional learning experience aligns with one or more of the standards to ensure our learning is collaborative, job embedded, and focused on improving student outcomes. The first category, conditions for success, creates the foundation for this work. Protected PLC time, collaborative team structures, instructional leadership, and strategic use of existing resources provide the conditions necessary for meaningful professional learning to occur. The second category, transformational processes, focuses on how professional learning is designed and sustained. Every learning experience in this plan is driven by student and teacher needs, grounded in evidence, and supported through job embedded learning such as PLCs, instructional coaching, collaborative planning, and learning walks. Rather than isolated professional development sessions, this plan creates an ongoing cycle of learning, implementation, reflection, and continuous improvement. And the final category, rigorous content, keeps the focus on strengthening classroom instruction. Teachers will build strong relationships with students, collaborate around standards based planning, use common formative assessments to monitor learning, and develop high quality instructional resources. By using the Learning by Doing framework, teachers will continually strengthen their professional expertise while working together to improve outcomes for every student. This table just brings the entire plan together. Each area of improvement was intentionally selected based on 4th District's current needs and aligned to a specific learning by doing continuum. From there, I identified the learning forward standards that best support each area of growth. Together, these frameworks ensure that our professional learning is collaborative, intentional, and focused on improving both teacher practices and student achievement. Now I'd like to walk through what this plan looks like across the school year. Instead of thinking about professional learning as a few isolated workshops, I wanted it to be ongoing and embedded into our daily work. Each month builds on the one before it, from establishing collaborative teams to clarifying curriculum, using data to guide instruction, strengthening teacher practices, and finally, just reflecting on our impact. Every experience is intentionally connected back to one of my 3 areas of improvement: the Learning by Doing framework and the Learning Forward standards. We start in July by just building the foundation. Before we can expect teachers to collaborate effectively, we have to establish what that collaboration should look like. During this month, teams will create shared commitments, establish norms, learn the 4 critical questions of PLCs, define team roles, and set individual TEKS goals with me. As DeFore reminds us, collaboration only improves student learning when teams are focused on the right work. My goal is for every teacher to leave July with a shared understanding of our purpose and how we'll work together throughout the year. Once our teams are established, we shift our focus to curriculum. In August, teachers will unpack priority standards, review district pacing guides, identify essential learning targets, and align instructional resources. Since 4th District uses a different math curriculum than the other elementary schools, this collaborative planning is especially important to ensure we're teaching the same standards at the same time as the rest of the district. We'll also administer beginning of year benchmark assessments so we have a clear starting point for measuring student growth. By September, we'll have baseline data and our first common formative assessments. This is where our PLC work really begins. Teachers will meet to analyze student data, identify trends, group students based on need, and plan intervention, reteaching, or enrichment. Instead of looking at data simply to report scores, we'll use it to make instructional decisions that improve teaching. This is exactly the shift I want to see at 4th District, using data as a tool to guide teaching rather than just measuring performance. By October, teachers have established routines, clarified curriculum, and begun using data to guide instruction. Now the focus shifts to strengthening Tier 1 instruction. Teachers will participate in peer observations, collaborative lesson planning, and classroom walkthroughs while continuing to analyze student data and align instructional resources, specifically in math. One idea I especially liked from Learning by Doing is that the effectiveness of a collaborative team depends on whether its conversations remain centered on student learning. These opportunities allow teachers to learn from one another and continuously refine their instructional practices, leading to stronger, more consistent Tier 1 instruction. In November, we'll expand collaboration beyond individual grade levels through vertical team meetings. Teachers will discuss prerequisite skills, clarify essential learning outcomes, review assessment trends, and align expectations from one grade level to the next. This helps ensure instructional continuity and smoother transitions for students as they move through the grades. Instead of working in isolation, teachers begin to see how their instruction fits into the larger learning progression across the school. December provides an opportunity to pause and reflect before beginning the second semester. Teachers will review common formative assessment trends, evaluate the effectiveness of interventions, adjust instructional pacing, and administer a mid-year benchmark assessment. Rather than simply collecting more data, teams will use evidence of student learning to determine what's working, what needs to change, and where additional support is needed before we begin the second semester. This reflection ensures that instruction is adjusted based on student needs before moving into the second half of the school year. After reflecting on first semester data, January is about resetting our focus for the second half of the year. Teachers will analyze the winter benchmark, revisit both PLC and TEKS goals, and identify the instructional priorities that will have the greatest impact moving forward. Learning by doing reminds us that frequent feedback and celebrating progress will help sustain improvement. Rather than starting over, we'll build on what's working and create a clear action plan for the spring semester. In February, the focus shifts back to instruction. Teachers will analyze student work, identify misconceptions, and collaboratively plan differentiated lessons to better meet students' needs. This aligns with Learning by Doing's emphasis on collective responsibility, recognizing that every teacher is responsible for ensuring all students learn at high levels. By planning together and using evidence from student work, teachers can provide more targeted instruction and stronger Tier 1 practices. March is all about building collective efficacy, the sheer belief that together we can improve student outcomes. Teachers will participate in peer observation using an admire and acquire approach, reflect on effective instructional practices, and identify next instructional steps together. Learning by Doing highlights coaching and collaboration as the link between great leadership, great teaching, and great learning. These experiences help teachers learn from one another, strengthen confidence, and continue building a collaborative culture focused on student success. By April, we spent the entire year learning, collaborating, and adjusting instruction. Now it's time to ask an important question. Did our professional learning make a difference? Teachers will analyze end-of-year benchmark data, review implementation evidence, and evaluate which instructional practices had the greatest impact on student learning. This reflects both the Learning Forward evidence and implementation standards, as well as Learning by Doing's emphasis on using evidence, not assumptions, to drive continuous improvement. We'll celebrate what's working, identify areas for refinement, and use those findings to guide our final instructional decisions as the year comes to a close. The final month is about reflection and preparing for what's next. Teachers will celebrate accomplishments, review their PLC and TEKS goals, and identify priorities for the coming school year while it's fresh on our mind. Learning by Doing reminds us that celebrating success builds momentum, and that reflection should lead directly into future action. Rather than viewing May as the end of the process, it's really the beginning of the next cycle of continuous improvement. By ending with reflection, celebration, and planning, we'll ensure that professional learning continues to grow year after year. This slide shows how the professional learning plan directly supports each of the three areas of improvement that I explained earlier. Each monthly experience was intentionally selected to move more than one goal forward. Instead of isolated professional development sessions, the plan creates a connected system where collaboration, curriculum, and data continuously reinforce one another. Together, these experiences build teacher capacity and ultimately improve student learning. Again, this slide brings the entire professional learning plan together. Every monthly learning experience was intentionally designed to support one or more of the three school improvement goals. I want staff to understand the why behind the work and see that every PLC session, every data meeting, collaborative planning session, and peer observation has a direct connection to improving teaching and student learning. When teachers see how their individual role contributes to our school goals, we create greater ownership, stronger collaboration, and a shared commitment to student success. To make this plan actionable, I identified specific steps tied to each area of improvement. These aren't extra initiatives, they're the work we'll already be doing together through PLCs, collaborative planning, data analysis, curriculum alignment, and peer observations. Keeping the action steps simple helps ensure our professional learning stays focused on what will have the greatest impact on student achievement. For our first area of improvement, which is strengthening PLCs through data-driven decision-making, every professional learning experience will build teachers' capacity to use data well. Throughout the year, we'll learn how to analyze common formative assessments, make instructional decisions based on evidence, and plan meaningful interventions. The goal is for data to become a tool that drives instruction, not just something we'll collect. For our second area of improvement, which is establishing a focus on learning through clear curriculum guides, specifically in math, we will focus on making sure that every teacher is clear on what standards students need to learn. We'll unpack the priority standards, align curriculum resources, implement the district's common assessments, and find resources to stay on track with the pacing guides. This helps ensure consistency across classrooms while giving teachers a shared vision for instruction. And finally, our third area of improvement, which is building a collaborative culture through teams, norms, and structure. This is really the foundation for everything else. We'll intentionally build collaborative teams through protected PLC time, shared norms, and peer observations. As trust and collaboration grow, teachers become more comfortable learning from one another and taking collective responsibility for student success. Ultimately, this year long plan isn't about completing professional learning sessions. It's about creating a culture where learning never stops. Professional learning should be ongoing, collaborative, and always connected to student needs. When teachers continue learning together, instruction improves, students benefit, and magic happens. That's the culture I hope to build as I begin my first year as principal. Thank you for taking time to review my professional learning plan. I appreciate the opportunity to develop a plan that ties in the Learning Forward standards with the Learning by Doing framework. The timing of this assignment truly could not have been better. As I prepare to step into my first year as a principal, it has helped me narrow my focus, clarify my vision, and develop a purposeful plan for leading professional learning at my new school. I look forward to implementing these ideas at 4th District and leading our school with a clear vision centered on continuous growth and improved outcomes for every student. Thank you.